All right, it's at the 30, let's go. Welcome everybody. My name's Ingy.net, and today I'm going to give a talk about Rosetta Code and something called RosettaCodeData. So how many people here have heard of Rosetta Code, the website? Okay, and have used it? I mean, looked around it and stuff, okay? Regularly use it. Have edited a wiki page on it. Bruce, yeah. Have added a sample, a code sample to it. Bruce, me. Have added a new programming task. I have not. Okay. And added a new programming language. I have, twice. So, how many people have scraped the entire Rosetta Code site into a public Git repo? Have you, Bruce? Okay. So, introducing Rosetta Code. It's a media wiki. It, as of 8 this morning, and we'll check in a second, had 914 languages, 1230 programming tasks, and another 411 tasks, new tasks that are up and coming. Let's take a look at it, see if those numbers still match. And they do. Okay, so nothing's changed, but things have changed since last weekend when I was writing a lot of this. So let's go back to, okay. So it was started in 2007 by a guy named Mike Mole. I've actually emailed some with him. He's a pretty cool dude. I think he lives in the Detroit area. Mike, maybe you can go say hi to him someday. And anyway, it's like the Rosetta Code for Stone. So it's, that's where you got the name, obviously. And I call it an acmeous treasure chest, and I'll explain what that means in a couple slides. And it's a good way to test and promote new languages like Raku back in the day. Raku, very prominent presence on, and Perl has a huge presence, and we'll see that literally in a second. So this kind of vocabulary. The important thing here is sample. That's what I call a specific code instance, and I think that's what they call it a few times there on Rosetta Code. So a draft is a new task idea. We'll see a little bit about that. So let's look at how they organize their programming languages. Well, the site kind of blows, in my opinion. I mean, it's just like, because you don't have all of the programming languages on one page. You kind of got to page through it, and it's kind of hard to get to Raku. But I found a little trick. So you can put a P, like if you want to get to Perl, you could put a from P at the end of the URL, and then it'll give you all the P languages. So that's okay. And my favorite language on the site, SNUSP, got moved to SOLangs, which they have this special page for. Oh, that's my favorite program on the old site, has been for 10 years. It's so cool. I'll show it in action in a little bit. Let's have FizzBuzz in the SNUSP language. Let's see. And here's some Raku implementations. So sometimes people will do multiple implementations of a given task in a given language. And there's about 6 of those on here. Now, I edited this page, and I checked, and it was the shortest FizzBuzz to date 5 years ago. And we'll see if that's still the case. It's 44 characters, 45 including the new line. Okay, so okay, we'll do. Let's go back to the web and make it a little bigger. All right, how's that? Okay, great. Yeah, we'll be at that site a bit, so it should stick. Okay, so it's kind of awkward to use. Here's a language that I added recently because it's a language I gave a talk about yesterday called YAML script. And so I have now 5 examples on these. They're also shipped with the CPAN module, and I'll be showing them a bit. I guess we could, well, see it in another way in a second. So running the programs from the site. So you got to find the program and then running them. I'll give you an example of how you might do this. So here's a quick link to the 9 billion names of God the integer in Clojure. But actually getting to this is kind of a pain in the ass, but now we got it. So we would copy this, go back here and start a closure REPL. Okay, and we have that. We'll paste it in and hit enter, and it works. Okay, so, but it was a pain to do. Let's see a better way to do that. So going back to this. Okay. Okay, so introducing RosettaCodeData. This is something I created, seems to be 10 years and 3 months ago. You can Google RosettaCodeData or search it on to get the URL. It's easy to find. It's the only one. And Acmeism is the organization I put it under, and I mentioned Acmeism before. That's my personal programming philosophy that you should try to do all of your human efforts in as many languages and cultures as possible. It's kind of a pipe dream, but it's been my effort to try to do a lot of things in a lot of different languages, and when I come up with a good idea, to spread them around as much as possible. It's kind of an impossible thing to do, but that's my philosophy, and I'm sticking to it. So let's look at, here was how, so you can basically get 100,000 plus programming samples by just git cloning this one repository. So you get cloned, it takes about 30 seconds this morning when I did it. It was kind of a slow disk, but because I think there's spyware from my company on it, not sure, but anyway. Yeah, so you get that whole thing and you have all of the code examples instantly and you can start playing with them. Let's go ahead and run straight out of the code example. Like now I can just call closure on the 9 billion names of God the integer written in closure and see if it works. Boom, it does. Okay, great. And I started this in April of 2013, apparently. So today, you check out this thing, and if you want to actually rebuild it yourself, you just type in make build, and it takes about 30 minutes at my home internet. The hotel internet it just kind of, I got about 20 languages in, and it just kind of, I think it throttled me heavily. So, because it's a lot of downloads. But it was last updated this last Saturday, and I'm sure it's changed quite a bit. And I wanted to run it this morning, but you know, every time I run it a few days, people are actively working on this every day. So, it's all built around a CPAN module called RosettaCode, and we'll install it. Oh, I already got it. And so it's built around media wiki bots, and so I used to run this like every 6 months, because when I go to run it, it's a wiki site and it's really dirty data, and the program would crash, and I'd either have to add some exception to the program or just go in and fix the wiki mistake. So it usually like, I don't know, 10 to 20 to 30 errors, and I would get the thing done. So I didn't really want to do it that often. But thank God for this conference, because I decided to give a talk on it. And then I found out the wiki pages had all changed, I think sometime in 2022. They're a lot cleaner and easier to parse now. I can do full runs without any coding errors, but I did have to spend a whole day rewriting the system. So anyway, and that's up on CPAN now. Cleaner code. And anyway, so it's a good thing. And now I can just run it. I could cron it every day and to upload it if I wanted to. Kind of cool. Okay, it comes with a number of, check the time here. RosettaCodeData, the repo, has a bin directory, and it has these scripts that I'm going to show you in them. I decided it would be interesting to see some of the numbers live against the real data. So let's, this is going to list all of the languages. That's kind of easy. You know, well, there they are. And let's get a count of those. So of the 914 languages, I have 908 right now. For various reasons, it has some Unicode problems, and some of the languages have Unicode or non-ASCII characters in it, and I just kind of punch it on those for now, but I will fix it, or somebody will fix it, and I'll apply the patch. So let's see. And here's the same thing for all the tasks, blah, blah, blah. And let's see how many tasks we're actually got. So remember this number, 1230 is the number of tasks actually on disk from that repo. That'll come into play in a second here. So these next ones are going to take a little time, and I don't know what I'm going to do while they're running, but we'll see. So this is the number of languages per task. So I printed out a thing so I could sort on this. And let's go ahead and sort on that. And you know any songs, Giga? Any Hakka songs, maybe? I don't know. So this is the number of languages per task, and then I'm going to sort them and see what the top implementers are of the various tests. And so the most popular one is Hello World text, and it beats 100 doors by 200 language implementations. But here's a really interesting one. I love this, and this is make Reiku and Perl shine. So let's do it. Sing that song again. All right. Come on, baby. Okay, so look, we got Reiku. I did that for you, Bruce. Raku and Perl up there as major contenders. J, I don't even know. Does anybody know J? Okay, thank you. They got the most samples per language. Now that's samples, because you can write, for any given task, you can write 20 samples. So samples per is not really that. Let's actually look at the number of tasks solved per language. And this is the last slow one I'll run, I think. Oh, that wasn't too bad. So Perl and Reiku, both up there. But Ren, remember that number 1230? They're only missing 10. Raku is only missing 32, right? So get to work, Bruce. I mean, you're only 2 away from 1200. Come on. You can do it. You got this. Okay. And these are kind of cool. So these are more for me, because for each language, I actually have to add it to a config file, because I have to associate it with a file extension that I'm going to save it to, which I can't get from the site that I know of. So, so Cherry Cake was added in the last 4 days. Anybody heard of Cherry Cake? I haven't. Anyway. But it'll be in the repo as soon as I get back to some good internet. And let's see if there's any new tasks. I happen to know that there are not. Yeah, no new tasks. Okay, great. Yeah, we already looked at SO languages. I'll skip that. And so here's my new language, YAML script. Let's look at some code here. We'll look at the 99 bottles of beer on the wall. I think it's pretty cool. Well, it used to fit on one screen until Bruce had me blow it up. But actually, I think if I skip the comments up here, oh yeah, nice and simple. So we define 3 functions here. We have some mapping over lists going on. Here we have a here document-ish thing, that the literal in YAML with interpolation going on, interpolation calling functions, which is not so bad. And here you can see where it's getting the phrases from for the number of bottles. And let's give it a run. So that's all of it. So we can go through and see it gets down to no more bottles of beer on the wall. But, we should all drink responsibly. So let's just keep it at that. Used that joke yesterday, but it seemed to go over well. So it seemed to go over well again today. So great. So Perl, there's 7 implementations of FizzBuzz. We can just pick a random one. Run Perl on it, and it works. But let's look at the Reiku. There's a number of Reiku people in here. So, and they're okay. So as we saw before, I think there were 6 Reiku implementations. Number 5 is the one of interest to me, because it was the shortest when I wrote it. And let's see if it works. Yeah, it works fine. Let's see how many characters it actually is. 45, including the new line. So let's go to the next page. I don't know why. Slide mistake. Well, that's not good. Is there a pound sign anywhere in here? I think this is a Vim screw up. What I'm going to do is copy this. Try to copy it. Blow up the fonts a bunch. So Bruce can read it. Put it in there. Oh, right. Live demo. This is my first mistake in all these live demos. It's not bad. RosettaCode. No, wrong one. Nothing's supposed to go wrong. Okay, so where's Raku? It's right there. 45 used to be, but somebody did it in 9. It sounds like they wrote a language that does FizzBuzz only, in my opinion. Although if you did that, it should just be 0, right? So we don't really know. You just run it, and that's all it does. Yep. FizzBuzzlang.org. Buy it. Yeah. So this is just my 3 implementations. The YAML script. Here's one. We'll run it. There we go. Works. Great. Okay. Now here's the best slide ever. Let's see how much time we got to do this. 4 minutes. I can do it. Okay. So going back to here, for some reason, they moved snusp into the SOLangs. And this example, some FizzBuzz snusp things did get into the data repository. For some reason, this is not in the repository. So I just copied it locally onto the disk. And let's see if it runs. Actually, if you get the language, so I wrote the language. Let's go look. This language only existed on a wiki page. The implementation, the Perl code, the whole language is invented on here. People wrote a bunch of programs down here in the language. They wrote a Perl implementation of the language that was obfuscated in about this much code. And I took all of that code, cleaned it up, and put it on the CPAN so that people could run snusp on files. And it was kind of cool. So that's what I was trying to say here. So, and if we go and look, you can use CPAN -look. Everybody know that one. And then we can see that there's a bunch of example programs there written in snusp. I won't show you them all, but I will run the FizzBuzz one. Right. Let's just run that. It works, but it also comes with a debugging version. How many people have seen me give the debugging version? Gugad has, and maybe Bruce. Okay, so this is awesome. It uses a curses debugger. So watch. I'm going to have to make it smaller, Bruce. Okay. Hopefully this will work. Control C. Let's try it again. No, needs to be smaller. 2-dimensional languages suck for this reason. So, okay. It's basically a 2-dimensional brain fuck. The only 8 of those characters do anything, but the important ones are the slashes because they reflect the cursor. The cursor normally would start in the northwest corner. Unless there's a $sign in the program, then it starts on the $sign. I hit the N key in this debugger, and I'm moving the program counter along. Or I can hit space. If it's going too slow, I can speed it up. What it's doing now, and I'll stop it for a second, up here is a register, and it's going to make a bunch of registers. It's trying to get the letter B, which would be 66, capital B, into this register. So it gets to 66, and then it returns. So basically, it's just doing all the setup for this. I can make it run really fast so we can get past the initialization. Okay, and then watch at the bottom. Now it's doing the calculation. So we got 1. We got a 2. See if we get a fizz. Oh, hell yeah, we got a fizz. All right. And one more thing I'll show you. So now, what are we in? We're in a loop. Watch, you see that cursor down there? It's looping. Okay. Also, we have a register up here with 42. What's it doing? Well, every time it goes on that minus character, it's decrementing that register. So let's try to stop it right before 0. Okay. So we get down to 1. Now, we get down to 0, and the question mark will say, if the register is 0, skip over the next character, which effectively exits the loop. This is a subroutine return and goes back to here, and I don't know what the rest of the code does because it's going to be like hours to figure out even that. So there you go. See if we get a buzz. Why not? I'm not going to go up to fizz buzz. It just takes too long. Come on, baby. Oh, maybe it went off the screen. I think that's what happened. Yeah, so forget it. Anyway, so here's what's next for this project. I want to auto-update it every day. The Unicode fixes I talked about. It would be nice to automatically add new languages as they come in, but some human has to go in and look at the file extensions. You know, if they get annoyed and they see, why did you put that file extension? I just basically lowercase the name and did some other mutations on it if I didn't know what it was, because who knows what Cherry Cake's file extension is. I don't know. Anyway, if you like this and you want to help out, just get a hold of me. I'm around. And that's it. Thank you. And any questions? I think we have a break, so thanks. Any questions?
What makes the language esoteric?
Good question, man. Ask Mike Mole. He's your neighbor.
Were there a lot of fights about it? About whether language being relegated to esoteric?
I don't. Ask Bruce. He spends more time on the site than I do. What?
Are there any languages?
What was the question?
Oh, good question. Mike Hamlin asks, what makes an esoteric language? Ingy.net says, I have no idea, but you live pretty close to Mike Mole, who started this, so why don't you go knock on his door and ask him? Thank you.
Have you thought about or done anything with regarding performance of different solutions to tasks?
The question was, have I done anything with performing or analyzing the performance of different tasks and different languages? Or no, and actually, when I first wrote it, I kind of wanted to have, like, in addition to the extension, what was needed to run a task in a given language. And that's something, you know, if I had enough time, I would like to see. But no, I haven't gotten around to that. Anyway, play with it and get back to me if you have some cool ideas. I mean, I actually wanted to have the whole wiki history. That would have been the cool thing, to have the Git history match the wiki history of all the, but that's, nobody would appreciate it, and it would take me a long time. So, all right, thanks, guys.